It's becoming much more acceptable for people to buy a used two-wheeler. To make a brand in this category, which is exceptionally unorganized, fragmented, seemed like a great challenge.
In this episode, we dive into the world of used two-wheelers with Madan from BeepKart.
The journey here, in terms of starting to think about, listen, I want to buy a used two-wheeler, to actually buying it can be anywhere between 1 week to 6 months. The problem is that there's no standardization in this market. When it comes to the digital platform, the quicker you are able to get them to a shortlist, the better it is for that to convert into an event. What makes it more difficult is the lack of awareness about how used two-wheeler prices work. It's a buyer beware segment. So the buyer is at risk.
From building trust in an unorganized buyer beware category to understanding the emotional and functional triggers that drive first-time two-wheeler buyers.
I don't want to buy just what you have to offer. I want a multi-brand experience, and that's very crucial. The platform is solving for transparency about the vehicles. I want to make a distinction here. It is not about being cheap. It's about value for money. So all of these things for a digitally savvy customer is very e-commerce-like. Every vehicle is unique. Every customer is unique.
How personalization and AI are shaping both supply and demand sides.
You can sit at your home and send me a photo and a video of your vehicle. I can accurately tell you the condition of that vehicle and what is going to need repair, what is going to need refurbishment, without ever having to see the physical vehicle at all. The used two-wheeler buying experience that we offer is 500x better than what is available. And if the consumer is genuinely interested, they will come back, provided we have the right inventory and price.
Hello and welcome everybody listening, tuning in. This is Harshit and I take care of content, events and community at WebEngage. And welcome to the State of Retention Marketing podcast. And with us today we have Madan from BeepKart, who is the Director of Marketing at BeepKart. Madan, over to you. Would love to hear about you and a quick introduction for our guests.
I'm Madan. I hail from the Idli destination of Karnataka, which is Udupi. I work at BeepKart. I've been here for a couple of years, and prior to this, I was with the corporate system in terms of working with Hindustan Unilever, L'Oreal, etc. So it's a great category to be in, used two-wheelers, and I thought it needs some solutioning, and so that's why we're at BeepKart right now. And it's been a great journey so far, and I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of the thoughts and insights that exist in this category.
Going from FMCG products to going into this category, what excited you about this category and this opportunity?
See, well, first of all, I didn't realize how amazing, how big this category was till I actually started talking to the team here before joining. And the numbers and the facts that come out are actually startling, right? The used two-wheeler market is almost roughly the same size of the new two-wheeler market. And the penetration of two-wheelers in India is about 15-16%, which means when you think about it, it's a huge headroom for growth. So obviously the opportunity to grow is there. But what makes it very interesting, right, is that if you play in the used two-wheeler business, you basically don't create the product. You have to build for both the buyer side and the seller side. So somebody's selling the vehicle and somebody's buying the vehicle. You don't make the product yourself. The appreciation for the product is also not in your control, right? Every vehicle is unique. Every customer is unique. The whole bit is subjective, right? And to make a brand in this category, which is exceptionally unorganized, fragmented, seemed like a great challenge. And that's what big brands do, right? They organize the unorganized segment and try to make a really strong consumer win out of it. That's essentially what got me into it in the first place.
Got it. Very exciting. I think I had not again thought about these numbers because primarily like the only two wheeler I have used is a cycle. I have used bike, but then again that's rental. But great to know. I think that's definitely a huge market opportunity. And as you're right, like a lot of people are get to buy their first two wheeler, and I think we will in this podcast we will realize how that decision journey usually looks like. So tell us a little bit more about the consumer behavior in this market.
Got it. See, first and foremost, what's important to understand is that this is a huge market, all right, like the numbers, and it's exceptionally unorganized, all right. When I mean unorganized, it's also super fragmented. So it's operated by many small players, and therefore what happens is it's a buyer beware segment. So the buyer is at risk, right?
Hmm.
They need to figure out what vehicle, where to go. The entire risk is on them. Second, because it's been operating like this for such a long time, for decades together, there are a lot of issues in terms of quality assurance, in terms of trust, in terms of transparency. So what usually happens is that customers look at it with a lot of suspicion, right?
Correct.
Um, People who've not interacted with this category also tend to look at it with the notion that the used two-wheeler market is usually only for the gig worker economy, and the vehicles here sold are just like 25-30,000 rupees. But that is not true, right? A significant portion of the consumers who buy used two-wheelers from us are people who already have a car and a bike. All right. And so there is a lot of demand for used two-wheelers for two reasons. One, it's a smart choice, right? If you look at the vehicles that are coming out today, they have significantly better quality. They last much longer, and therefore therefore there's not a lot of work required on these vehicles when you're buying a used one. Second, more interestingly, the prices of new two-wheelers over the last couple of years has gone up close to 30-35%. I remember when I wanted to recently buy a Honda Activa, and the number in my mind was like 70-80,000, right? And
Yeah.
when I went to the showroom, it was 1 lakh 10, and I was like,
Hmm.
when did that happen, right?
Yeah.
So income, however, has not moved in the same direction, right?
Yeah.
Vehicle prices have, but income has not moved in the same direction. So all the new two-wheelers today that are coming out are more expensive, right?
Yeah.
But incomes are not moving in that direction. So used two-wheelers becomes a natural option for most consumers who are trying to, look at it for utilitarian purposes. Or even without the utilitarian aspect of it, it's still a very smart option to buy.
Value conscious, if
Yeah.
we may say.
And that brings me to the expectations in this category, right? The first and foremost in used two wheelers is affordability. I want to make a distinction here. It is not about being cheap, it's about value for money. And these consumers are price sensitive, right?
Yeah.
Um, so therefore, what they're looking for is, can I get a vehicle which is in my budget? That budget could be 30,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, depends. Like we do sell a lot of tourers and
Yeah.
sports vehicles, which are in the range of 1.5 to 2 lakhs as a used vehicle, right?
Correct.
And there are significant number of people who want those vehicles. But the next two expectations is about quality assurance and is about,
Hmm.
transparency of the vehicle. Now, in the used two-wheeler market, the way it currently operates, there's no quality assurance. You look at the vehicle, you evaluate the vehicle, and you pick it up if you think it's good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And most consumers today, the way they evaluate a vehicle is just they start it, they take a test drive, they use the electricals, but that's it. They're not able to identify any issues because it's a machine, right? And therefore, if something goes wrong, the person who sold it to you tomorrow is going to say, "Bhai, not my problem," right?
Yeah.
So, so there's a problem of not knowing how the vehicle really is. And in this circumstance, what happens is people tend to default to look at proxy behavior. So they look at, okay, can you tell me who the seller was, right? How did he ride the vehicle? Was it used for college? Was it a college student or was it a doctor? These kind of behaviors come in play because they look for proxies. So what BeepKart is trying to do is basically solve for all these behaviors, right? It's saying, okay, can we make it affordable? But yes, can we make it even more, give a assurance of quality? Can we give a complete, transparent picture of what the vehicle really looks like and what's in it and what the condition of the vehicle is, right? So these are the couple of things that the customer expects and what BeepKart is trying to solve for. Now, if you look at it from a new two-wheeler perspective, what is there to check in a new two-wheeler, right? The brand is selling you a product which you already know. It's
Yeah.
never ridden. It's like you're the first person who's
Yeah.
going to ride it. At
Yeah.
best, you're going to evaluate, hey, do I like how it looks and do I like how it rides? But that's it. But when it comes
Yeah.
to used two-wheeler, not only is the appreciation of the used two-wheeler from a consumer lens, very subjective. Uh, the actual technical repair and refurbishment of this vehicle is also very subjective,
Correct.
right? Which makes it significantly more challenging for us to, get consumers to actually like the vehicle that they're buying. So that's broadly what the expectations look like. Um, In terms of challenges in this category, one is like I already mentioned, it's very fragmented. So you're competing with a lot of multiple small players. Second is transparency. You don't really know the vehicle condition unless you've taken it. Like even for us, when we procure the vehicle from somebody, we run it through a thorough inspection, right? But there are limitations to that inspection as well. Like I can't open up the vehicle completely. So we don't really know until we have the vehicle. So there's an issue of that. Um, Most consumers when they go to buy at a local broker, for example, they will see the vehicle is shining, right? It's really polished and it looks great.
Yeah.
But what is really inside is not known, right? And that's how they sell the vehicle to you. And then, of course, finally is trust. That can I really trust the person selling this vehicle?
Yeah, I think what I saw, you've done a great job at building this trust from the consumer. I think
Yeah,
in today's market, Google reviews in itself is such a big thing. Like anything below 4 is just not like you're
yeah.
not even risk it. Let me try it for myself. I think you've done a great job there. I was looking at the website and some of your online collaterals. Talk to me something about the consumer journey in this space. Like, are these people who are sure that they want to buy a two wheeler which is like sort of used, or are these people looking for a two wheeler and then at some point they get to the cost benefit analysis of okay, for my need, this two wheeler makes sense, and hence a second hand might be a better option. Like, what is the split of this, both in your utility category vehicles and in your luxury slash like hobby slash sports categories?
We have this very interesting very interesting way to look at it, saying how much are they emotionally involved and what is the price they're willing to spend, right? And for most consumers, there is always an emotional attachment with the vehicle. While the primary purpose might still be utilitarian, there's always an emotional attachment, right? So
Correct.
they want a vehicle that looks a little better. They want a vehicle that does has a little more in terms of accessories. So that's always going to be there. In our experience, we've seen that the consumers broadly cohorted into three groups, right? There's the cohort that is new. They're going to buy new two wheelers. They're thinking of brand. Uh, the concept of use doesn't even come into the consideration set. Then there are the guys who will always think use two wheeler first, right? And this cohort is actually growing significantly, not just because of affordability, but also in general. If you see what is happening around us, younger consumers are getting more cost conscious. They are
Hmm.
not looking at long term ownership. The average ownership cycle of two wheelers is reducing. At one point, I
Absolutely.
think it was about 7, 8 years, and now that average ownership of a two wheeler is coming down to 4.5, 5 years. And also, more younger people are coming into the market wanting to buy personal mobility, right? But
Okay.
the prices of new vehicles are such that it makes it really hard to reach. You will find most young people do not want to buy a 110 or a 125 or a 150 cc, right? Like that's 150 is what they want. They don't want a 100 cc vehicle.
Yeah.
So that cohort is growing significantly, and that you can also witness looking at other categories around you, right? So if you look at
Yeah.
furniture, renting is quite big in furniture, right? If you look at Facebook groups for clothes, appliances, that's quite big. So the concept of being able to buy something used is gaining traction significantly. Um,
Makes
what
sense.
we notice that when consumers come in to our hubs or in terms of their user behavior on our platform, they usually come with a couple of things in mind. Either they have a budget, saying that okay, this is the range in which I want to buy something, or they come in with saying, listen, I want this specific bike. I really love this bike, but I can't buy a new one. But let me see what can I get in that same price point in and around.
Hmm.
Um, However, we do know that consumers switch at the point of purchase when they're making the final decision, because they're not so steadfast on this is the only thing that I will buy.
Okay, I think given that we're talking about the buying side of consumer behavior, how does the demand supply side look like for this? And I'm sure there are certain things which are very high in demand, and then certain which are like low moving, slow moving, and you'll have your ways to sort of make the economics of that work. But I'm sure like availability of the top moving product would make a player stand out from the rest. Like I would imagine that would be one of the buying behaviors. So could you share some of these insights with us? And how are you looking at data in this whole play?
Got it. So let me ask you that question. What do you think is the challenge in this category? Do you think it's demand or do you think it's supply?
I am guessing it's going to be supply because I
You're right.
think demand is never a problem in India.
Yeah. So it's a
Yeah,
supply constrained market, right? Like
exactly.
it's very difficult for us to get. I must say that we have a very good internal algorithm and machinery that we've built that lets us know what vehicle is in demand. Therefore, what prices are operational, what would be the right mix of vehicles to carry in order to meet the demand. So we have that internal system built in from our fabulous team, but it is a supply constrained market. And what
Yeah.
makes it more difficult is the lack of awareness about how used two-wheeler prices work, right? So, for example, if I bought a vehicle 2 years ago and I paid 2 lakhs for it, the customer usually comes in after 2 years expecting, listen, I've treated my vehicle like a princess, so I want 1,80,000, right? But the fact is, the moment that new two-wheeler has stepped out of the showroom, the depreciation starts, right? So there's a
Exactly.
yearly depreciation, there's a ownership change depreciation, there is the number of kilometers that you run the vehicle for, there's the physical condition of the vehicle. So most consumers, they come in with a price expectation that is at best a guesstimate. All right. And what happens is once they hear the operational price in the market, they get shocked. They're like, this is insane. How can you offer me so little for my bike? And then they tend to just go around the market, talk to other people, talk to other local brokers, and will realize that the price we are offering and with the convenience of being able to be being paid immediately is much better. So it is a supply constrained market, and it takes longer for us to actually procure the vehicles than it is for us to sell the vehicles, because there, like you rightly said, there's a lot of demand, and
Yeah.
it's becoming much more acceptable for people to buy a used two wheeler. And of course, the platform is solving for you know transparency about the vehicle. So you would have seen on our product page, we share all the vehicle details in terms of
Yeah.
kilometers, ownership, RTO, insurance, etc. We share a detailed inspection report which captures all the conditions of the vehicle, right? And even if this is good or bad, it's mentioned. And we also show photos which are actual photos of the vehicle. It's a damage, dents, etc. Though we work on refurbishment, there are some things
Yeah.
that we don't,
Yeah.
which is beyond the scope of a simple paint jobs, panels, and stuff like that. And that is of course part of trust building measures, right? I'm giving you complete transparency, and that solves for a lot of the demand side discovery, right? Because they see the vehicle, see the condition, they know they're getting a warranty, the price is upfront, etc. But for the supply side, where price discovery is a challenge, we have created tools where you can come and check the price, expected price of
Yeah.
your vehicle. There's no charges, nothing to do. You
Price
just check.
calculator, I saw.
Yes, there's a price calculator where you can check the prices of your vehicle. And most of the times you'll find that it's significantly better pricing than what is available in market. And the problem is that there's no standardization in this market, right? Like you can have a broker in Bangalore give you, like Bangalore South give you one price, and a broker in Bangalore North give you a completely different price, because that's the set of customers they have. So that is again something that we are trying to solve by bringing standardization in terms of pricing. It doesn't depend on where you are located. It just all that matters is what is the condition of the bike.
Got it. Perfect. I think now that we've discussed both sides of like the demand and the supply side, love to understand of all these touch points. From discovery, finding out like understanding that I have this need, discovering BeepKart, considering that I want to buy from here to making a purchase. Let's talk about the entire customer journey and like different like feel free to take as many detours in this journey on what channels work here or what kind of insights you found at different touch points. At the website stage, do people like getting a call right after? Is that something that they like? Or just the different customer engagement touch points and some learnings on the way.
Let's
Yeah.
start with the sales side, the demand side, right? Because that is more complicated than the supply side.
Yeah.
Let's first and foremost, this is a high involvement category, low frequency category, very less chance of repeats. All right. So I'm very proud to say that we do have customers who are buying their fourth vehicle or the fifth vehicle from us even today. But frequency and trying to build for repurchases is quite difficult. Okay.
Okay.
The journey here can, in terms of starting to think about, listen, I want to buy a used two-wheeler, to actually buying it can be anywhere between 1 week to 6 months. All right. And it was surprising when we first saw this data as well, that a customer who has come to us in month one, has actually completed that transaction in month six.
Correct.
And this is actually the case even with two wheelers in general, right? People start thinking about the vehicle and start thinking
Yes, sir.
about brand, and it takes some time for them to actually put their foot on the pedal.
Yeah.
There are two different sets of consumers in terms of digital adoption. So there is one set of customer who will come to our website. All right, he'll engage with the website. He's going to take a look at multiple PDPs. Like we know that a customer is going to look at least 150, have about 150 PDP views before actually coming to a decision on a couple of them and comparing a couple of them. We also have this feature where you can book a home test ride online. So you can pay 999, a refundable amount, and we actually drop the vehicle to your house, where you can take a test ride, or office for that matter. So that's kind of our uh, action on the website funnel, right? So somebody comes to the listing page, compares the vehicles, uses a filter. We've also realized that uh, while consumers want to look at a lot of vehicles in a physical presence, so if they come to a hub, they need to see different vehicles and take a test ride. Uh, and that is because they make the manual effort of coming to a place and actually wanting to, get a good choice. When it comes to the platform, digital platform, the quicker you are able to get them to a shortlist, the better it is for that to convert into an event, right? So, for example, we have anywhere between 350 to 550 vehicles at any given point on our website. That's a vast
Okay.
number, right? So then you have a basic filtration out of commuter, sports, tourer, and scooters. Within that, you will have brand, you'll have price, and then you'll have the specific ones
Yes,
which
of
are
course.
related to used two wheelers, ownership, number of kilometers, right? Insurance available, not available, etc. Um, so all of these things for a digitally savvy customer is very e-commerce like. They're very easy to adopt it, right? They
Yeah,
find a lot of comfort in that whole process. But for
absolutely.
there are the other customers who who call our customer helpline, and they basically give you an audio filter, right? They'll tell you, "Acha, mujhe, in this price, what are your options?" And then it'll be, okay, what are the kilometers, what are the, so you will find our customer cares actually shortlisting and telling them. And that's the kind of tech we've also built, that the moment we capture the audio inputs from the customer and what they're looking for, our system is able to throw up the right kind of vehicles for the customer, which makes it less of a guesswork and more of a relevant choice for the customer. And then we're able to convert that to a home test drive or a hub test drive or a customer walk-in on the call itself. So different strokes for different folks, right? Like, so you have the digital guys that don't really need a lot of nudges, and then you have the semi offline kind of guys who prefer to talk to somebody or come to our hub
100%.
and actually experience the thing. What we found very interesting from an engagement specific perspective is, like, when you're pushing notifications or messages, um, what usually helps quite a lot is the availability of inventory, right? Telling people that there are more options, right? Telling people there's more stock. Telling people, there are special offers. Offers, I think, is what everyone does. But what really works quite well for us to just inform consumers that you have more options left, right? The new
Yeah.
vehicles have come in stock because our vehicles turn around quite fast. Um, we also have introduced uh, different facilities in terms of loan options. So loans are
Yes.
really, really important in used two wheelers, and we work with some of the top players in the country. So that definitely helps people to understand what is the EMI that I'm going to pay, what is the loan down
Yeah.
payment.
I think it's
Uh,
very easily available on
yeah,
your
it's very,
website that
yeah,
this, yeah, like I was looking at some products and said, like 50,000 the car hai, you can get it
yeah,
at best like 1,800 per month
yeah,
ka EMI
yeah.
at this year.
So for somebody who has used an Amazon, or for somebody who's used any of the shopping apps, this is going to feel very intuitive. But what it does is, like, when we show this to customers who have actually gone to the local market to buy a vehicle, And we do this exercise with them saying, okay, if you had gone to the local market, what was the problem? They said, we don't know what is the condition of the vehicle. We don't know what is the right price. We don't know if I want an option, I have to go to three more stores. I have to spend like half a day. I wish there was an app that solved for all of this. The moment we show them the app, their eyes go like, poof, right? And they're like, wow, this has everything. Why didn't I know about it? And it's a whole package.
Yeah.
Just by giving true information, by making purchase journeys easier, uh, we find the consumer adoption goes much higher. Like, and of course, we've evolved to this stage. Uh, we've always had this constant feedback loop with consumers to understand, okay, what more information do you want?
Yeah.
How can we make things easier? How can we make things better? And that actually helps us build our entire funnel,
Yeah.
right?
Got it. So, just zooming on to something you shared when you said, informing the consumer of more vehicles are available. What channels are these consumers generally present at? Where is most of your browsing or discovery happening? If you can tell us from like a very digital touchpoints mechanism.
So this is a search-based category, all right. So most of your origination is happening on Google primarily, right? So that's where most of our consumer flow comes in. The second thing that happens is we have a very strong word of mouth channel. So word of mouth runs really strong. What happens usually is there are two geographical or demographical differences here. One is a set of customers who are migratory in the sense they have come to Bangalore from other states, other cities. So naturally for them, it becomes difficult to engage with the local services, etc., to get a vehicle. Like document transfer, talking to local, because language becomes a barrier, systems
Yeah.
become a barrier. So there, usually what happens is they immediately go to Google search, and we are pretty strong there. Or they speak to people who come from similar cities or who in their local networks, and they get a very strong recommendation. So that's one thing. While there is browsing behavior, it is not very strongly correlated with purchase intent, right? Browsing behavior could happen at any point between 1 to 6 months. And there could be a great deal that makes them reconsider saying, hey, you know what, maybe I should think about it seriously. But
Hmm.
that really, the correlation between general browsing and intent is very low. We find
Got
usually
it.
word of mouth, organic channels, Google search very strongly correlated. We are also present across other discovery modes, like you can think of Facebook Marketplace, Classifieds, all these places. But
Okay.
again, what happens is these guys have a very bad reputation, right? So if you
Yeah.
see marketplaces, a lot of scams. You look at online classifieds, lot of scams, lot of spam,
Absolutely.
and they have a bad reputation. So that's not really worked out great for us. Therefore, we've continued to focus on building our own thing. What we do know is that people come in and out, right? So people come, they spend some time, they engage very heavily for the first couple of days, and then they vanish. But usually, when we reactivate them in a week or 2 weeks, they do come back, and then that journey gets pushed on. Usually, this is because of inventory, mismatch about what they're looking for and what is available. But that's usually the strongest channels for us.
Got it. And this is using email, WhatsApp, web push.
Usually web push, notifications, WhatsApp. Emails don't really work for us because a significant portion of our audience is not very
Yeah.
email savvy in that sense. Usually the notifications, WhatsApp push works pretty well for us. We also
Got it.
have an outbound, inbound call center. So uh, we do
Okay.
receive a lot of calls, especially from our uh, Google Map listings, right? So wherever our hubs are present, we do
Yeah.
also got a lot of inbound calls, and those are usually very high intent
Yeah.
calls.
So once you've identified that there is a high intent of purchase, what are some of the engagements that you have cracked that get them to finally make the sale? Because I think एक होता है browsing journey, you also figured out that okay, it takes a
Yeah,
couple of months and all of that. But then tell us a little bit more about that. These are the signals that we look at. Okay, this is a high intent, and then we go full ammunition on them. And how does that journey look like?
got it. So see, for example, there are multiple things on the product page, right? So there are photos, there's the EMI calculator, of course, there's the home test drive button. There is the inspection report which can be downloaded, right? Um, all of these things are mapped onto our platform in terms of actions, and there's an algorithm which determines. a combination of different types of actions taken together, which signal us that, listen, this is 80% conversion, 90% conversion chance, right? So, for example, if a customer is just giving you a general example, if a customer downloads the inspection report of a particular vehicle, all right, or he downloads it twice. Let's say he's downloaded a couple, but he downloads the same thing twice. He's looking at the EMI calculator for that specific vehicle. He's clicked on the book a home test drive a couple of times, but not completed the transaction. These are all very strong signals for us that saying, listen, this guy is probably interested in this vehicle. Once we're able to identify using these methods that the action combination that he's taken is likely to convert, then the primary job for us is to get him to do a test drive, right? Because you cannot convert the consumer digitally. You need the consumer to do a test drive. The test drive is like the absolute necessity in this category. So you cannot
Yeah,
buy,
absolutely.
like you could still think of on ordering a new two-wheeler on a online platform, because you can take a test drive somewhere else and you can buy the vehicle somewhere else, but that's not possible in this category. So ensuring that a customer takes a test drive either at his home or office, or he walks into our hub to take a test drive, is the most important conversion opportunity for us. So if we're able to do that based on the signals that we look at, then that usually converts quite well. Our conversion levels at the post test drive are like fantastic.
What does the post test drive journey look like? What different touch points do you engage on?
So usually post purchase, post test drive, there is a follow up channel. So there is a follow up that happens from a customer care. There's a follow up that happens from our sales executives. Um, there's also, if the funnel drops, so for example, if the customer drops after test drive, we do have a cohorting where we are able to talk to the customer. One, we, of course, there is always a random check where we speak to customers to inquire about why they did not buy the vehicle. So, and there's also feedback loops where
Okay.
we try to understand if it was a pricing issue, if it was a quality issue, if it was could be something as random as color,
Yeah.
could be that they found something better, could be that they've dropped the plan altogether. Like we have a checklist of like 15, 20 items. So that gives us a good sense of what the problem is. And based on the problem, we are able to redirect them into a different funnel. So, for example, if it's an issue of pricing or inventory, that is a funnel that we can easily sort, because we do keep getting vehicles and at different pricing. So that's a funnel that we can actually sort out. But if it's a question of price, if it's a question of the plan has changed, that I don't want to buy a used two wheeler anymore, or I'm going to buy a new two wheeler, or the loan was not approved. Stuff like this is difficult for us to um, convert, and we usually don't get to it because we believe that
Yeah.
the used two-wheeler buying experience that we offer is like 500x better than what is available. And if the consumer is genuinely interested, they will come back provided we have the right inventory and pricing.
Correct. Correct. From a Martech lens, like I think just sort of establishing a little more context for us, what are some sort of Martech capabilities that you feel have really helped you, like with respect to be it AI, be it personalization? How do you think some of that has influenced the success that you have gotten so far?
One, personalization, I think, is part and parcel of any Martech stack today, right? That's
Yeah.
you. I mean, it's the bare bones.
Correct.
So one, we've been able to use a really good recommendation engine, right? Um, that helps multiple people, right? Helps our consumers on the platform. So every time they come back, they see a set of recommendations that are made for them. They see a set of notifications that is relevant to them. It also helps our customer care agent because he sees the right recommendations to talk to customers. And at the same time, even the sales executive has a history of what this customer is actually looking for and how can I ensure that their requirements are met with alternative vehicles. So that, I think, is um, the basic stuff that we have in place. But I'm really, really happy that our product tech and ops team today are have built in-house AI capability to be able to inspect a vehicle remotely, right? So when I say remotely, there's no physical inspection at all. So it's only through either a video, audio, or photos. The condition of more than 200 plus model and variants of bikes across all the mainline OEM players without needing a physical inspection at all, right? So
That's
you can
great.
sit at your home, and send me a photo and a video of your vehicle, I can, accurately tell you the condition of that vehicle and what is going to need repair, what is going to need refurbishment, without ever having to see the physical vehicle at all. And that's a game changer for us because
Yeah.
it is a significant investment in terms of the consumer's time, right? Like he has to wait for someone to come to check. Two, three different people will check, and then he has to go to different local brokers to check the condition of the vehicle. Now, this completely removes that entire setup
Yes.
altogether, and
Yeah.
it's amazing because, like I said, every vehicle is subjective.
Absolutely.
There is no vehicle that is alike in terms of handling, in terms of number of kilometers, where the vehicle has been ridden, who has ridden the vehicle. Every vehicle is different. And
Yeah.
to be able to do that remotely and using the AI capabilities we have has been a real game changer. And I think it's probably the first in the industry.
Yeah, I think that also positions you for scalability really well,
Yeah,
because then it doesn't matter where or how many sales executives or
true.
technicians you can build.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned sales executive, it just got curious. Do you also have an app or something for their engagement for your
Yes.
multiple sales executives?
I'm glad you brought that question up because, see, one thing about solving for an unorganized category is standardization, right?
Correct.
So somebody who experiences BeepKart at Bangalore or Chennai or Delhi must have the same experience, right? And because every vehicle is subjective, and this category is so fragmented and so difficult, you need to have very strong standardized processes, protocols, information transfer, learning modules shared. So we have a fantastic internal tech stack, that one enables different functions to coordinate with each other. It's very systemized handshakes that happen from one function to the other, right? And that enables us to keep a very strict control on quality, right? So from somebody who's procuring the vehicle to inspecting the vehicle to then refurbishment, then checking into our sales centers, like there's a very strong internal app flow, and every function has a role in it that ensures that these processes are standardized and quality is maintained. At the same time, even our sales teams has their own internal apps, right? So using technology, we're able to one ensure that quality is maintained because the processes are standardized.
Hmm.
Second, using technology, we are trying to reduce human error,
Yeah.
right? And that's a big one because
Yeah.
these are subjective, right?
Subjectivity. Huge subjectivity.
Two experts can look at the same vehicle and have a different analysis,
Yeah.
right? Have a different read. So you need to figure out a way over 35, 40,000 transactions, and much more inspections to be able to say, listen, this is uh, what data tells us, and this is more likely to be accurate, and therefore to validate that against human error, right? And those are the couple of things we've done to ensure that as an organized brand, we are also quite organized in ensuring quality and right processes are in place.
Well, very interesting. I think I'm sure when you have been at Unilever, you and I've seen the retailer side apps and those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that also something that you do with your sales executives and internal team members, which is like gamification in them? How do you keep them updated? Is that also a big part of the process?
Not gamification per se,
Okay.
but definitely in terms of updates, etc. That's always there. Um, I think the team has its hands quite full when it comes to handling customers, walk-ins, etc. And we have quite a motivated bunch of people. So that does most of the bit.
Got it.
Of course, um, there are we are thinking of it on those lines. I'm saying, okay, what can we do? So we have different business models. We also have an auction model, where customers, where dealers, etc., can buy bikes and all of that. So we're thinking on those lines as well. Where can we introduce gamification, etc. But at this point, that's not something we have built in.
Got it. I think the next thing I'd love to talk to you about is apart from the core sale and purchase of the vehicles, I think for a business, catalog expansion becomes very crucial, right? What can
Hmm.
be more reason for you to service the same niche, the same audience. And I think you have been able to build some of those via financing, via warranty, AMCs, etc. Can you talk to us about that side of the business?
Yeah. See, there's the obvious one that, like you already mentioned, in terms of financing, enabling the purchase, extended warranties, paid services, all that comes along with the two-wheeler category per se. Um, we've not really got into well, we do have accessories as well, like for example helmets, gloves, stuff like that. We do sell those. We do sell peripheral stuff like rider jackets and monsoon protection, stuff like that. We do have all of that. uh, but I think at this point we are really focused on ensuring we're able to serve more customers to make their used two-wheeler journeys in a more organized way, right?
Yeah.
I think focusing on the core of your business and being able to serve a significantly large part of the consumer should be the goal for any startup at this point, because it's very easy to get distracted, right? It's very
Yeah.
easy for me to, let's say, for example, uh, build an engine oil brand,
Yeah.
right? I can source an engine oil and then put my sticker on it and start selling, and it help build value to my business. But I think we are really focused on solving for the consumer and solving for their mobility challenges, right? I think we've not really moved way beyond the pure requirement from a riding experience. And if I have to ride, I need these bare essentials, and I need to take care of my vehicle really well, right? And
Yeah.
I'm focused just on that bit for now.
Makes a lot of sense. I think focus. It's the number of things you say no to which ultimately
Yeah,
matters
that's
more than the number
yeah,
of
that's
things you say
strategy,
yes to.
right? What do you say no
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Just out of curiosity, have you also started dealing with EVs, like second-hand used EVs?
Great question, first and foremost. EVs is very interesting, all right. So while the ICE, the internal combustion engine market, is massively unorganized, what we believe is that there is going to be a demand for used EVs as well, because
Yeah.
this is an affordability. So if you look at
This
the
is an
first five,
intent, by the way.
yeah,
So I'm asking out of a purchase intent.
yeah, so no, it's a fantastic question also, because if you see what happened in the first 4 5 years of EV in India, there was government subsidies, and the subsidies went off. So pricing is a little all over the place, right? There's a vehicle that's 2 lakhs, there's a vehicle that's 30,000. So all the top OEMs, I think today have come to a point where they say, okay, this is the price that we're going to operate at, and I don't expect a lot of price changes and variations to happen in the EV space. So that's one. Second, I think the EV technology is also in some manner um, a walled garden for each OEM, right? So while in ICE engine, any mechanic can open up an engine, it's not the same for a EV vehicles, right? So more organized control of used EVs is going to happen, right? It could be from the OEMs themselves, or
Yeah.
it could be like organized players like us, um, because that is the kind of technology and sharing and know-how that is required. Um, but here's the catch, right? People will still want to have a choice when it comes to buying a used vehicle, right? So if I
Yeah.
come in to buy a used vehicle, I want to see options, I want to see different brands, I
How to
want to
compare?
compare.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy just what you have to offer. I want a multi-brand experience, and
Yeah.
that's very crucial, right?
Yeah.
Because I've made the effort to come and see. So if I don't want to see just how much your same vehicle has run, I want to see different options what I can get for my price. And so there is definitely going to be a play on used EV vehicles, and we are also doing it right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to take partnerships, relationships with different EV manufacturers for us to figure that out. We want to hold the same standard. Like, you should get an inspection report, you should get a life of battery,
Mm.
you should understand the physical condition of the vehicle. And like you rightly said about intent, there are a lot of customers who are interested in buying used EVs, right?
Yeah.
But there is a bit of clarity around the life of the battery, etc. Is things that still need to be solved. But that's definitely a place
Got
that
it.
BeepKart will be taking the lead on.
Super. Very excited. I think from a discussion lens, I feel like I'm pretty much good with what we wanted to discuss. I think would love to hear something anecdotal, maybe. You know, like crazy consumer expectations, or like probably story about the people who are buying their fourth vehicle, and also like I think if we can eventually talk about, are you also selling B2B? Just out of curiosity, is that a sale that
No,
you do? No, okay.
no.
So yeah, I think these two questions would love to take up like anecdotes or small bites for.
Uh, Got it. Okay, so see, I think you brought up B2B, so that's just top of mind for me. So I'm gonna just
Sure.
get that also out of the air. See, one of the things we don't do is we don't buy from bank repossessed vehicles. We don't buy insurance repossessed vehicles. We don't buy accident vehicles. All right. We don't buy these vehicles because they come with significant quality issues. All right. And they while they come at significantly lower prices, it's a good opportunity to make money, but it's not something that we do. We we authentically buy from consumers directly, right? And that's important because the quality of these vehicles significantly are poor. So that's something that we don't do. Second, I think in the larger picture, and while I'll give you something that anecdotally has moved me quite a lot. Um, what is Beepkart trying to do, right? What are we really trying to do? We are a population of 140 crores, all right? We have about, let's say, I think about 25 to 30 crore two wheelers on the road. That's it, right? 5 crore cars. So a significant part of India's population doesn't have access to personal mobility,
Hmm.
right? They have government
Okay.
facilities, but as more and more governments start making things free, that also becomes overpopulated and it becomes difficult to capture. What does personal mobility mean, right? It means better economic, opportunities. It means better educational opportunities. It means the growth of India. And you cannot solve personal mobility with new two wheelers. It's too expensive. Like even
Yeah.
the cheapest vehicle is too expensive. Like if I have to buy a scooter today from a decent OEM, I have to shell out 90,000 to a lakh, right? So let me give you a fantastic story that I heard. There was this beautician who was working with urban company, right? And she used to take, I think, five, 4 to 5 bookings in a day because her life was so difficult in the sense that she goes to one place, then she has to catch a rickshaw, go to another place, then she has to. So this whole thing happens. In the evening, she needs to get home before her family comes home. So that restricts her working hours,
Hours.
right? And she's dependent on public service. So she went and bought a scooter, all right? Um, and just because she's bought that scooter, she has been able to double her income, right? Because her transportation from point A to point B has gone down by half, right? The confidence of being relying on my own vehicle allows her to work earlier and allows her to work later in the evening, right? That's economic growth. That's someone earning more just because they have a own vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Just imagine the power of this when it goes to every other individual. Like I know the first thought that comes into mind is gig workers,
Yeah.
but let's just keep them on the side for a second, right? Look at how many people can afford to go to really good colleges and schools which may not be easily accessible, right? How many people can actually pick up work that requires them to move around the city, right? Move to a slightly far off place because there's a better
Correct.
paying job there, right?
Yeah.
So used two wheelers needs someone to organize it. Used two wheelers is the way forward, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
really difficult. It's not for um, you know you need very strong user focus, consumer centricity, right?
Yeah.
You need to stick to your integrity and say, listen, we are not going to try to make a quick buck here. We need to make sure that this is a long game. It is exceptionally risky for a startup to get into this long game because this is market development, right? You're effectively developing the market. You're getting people to do a completely new behavior um, from what they've always heard. Like you rightly mentioned earlier, that there is this shadow of scam and quality and all of that. You're trying to break that myth, and get them to choose this. So it's a significant opportunity, and We
Yeah.
need more people in this category. We need more brands, to actually play in this category. And interestingly, there are OEMs who are taking interest, right?
In
So
the
I'll
yeah.
give it, yeah, because see, let me not name brands, but see, let's say I want to buy a tourer vehicle, right? 7-8 years ago, the tourer vehicle would have cost me about close to 1.5 to 2 lakhs. All
Yeah.
right. Today, that vehicle will cost me 3 lakhs, let's say, but there is no vehicle at that 1.5 to 2 lakh price point. There is no option, right? So
In
for
the
an
new vehicle
OEM,
category.
yeah, there is no option because that vehicle's price has moved up. There is no price, that price point no longer exists, which is a
Yeah.
sweet spot.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for even us and even for OEMs to actually participate in the used two wheeler as a bridge to new two wheelers,
Correct. Correct.
right? If I am able to sell my own brand at a lower price with
Yeah.
quality assurance, of course, then that consumer can experience my brand at a much earlier age. And then
Yeah.
that translates into a newer vehicle, right? So it becomes super important and that's why I'm seeing a lot of OEMs take interest because new two wheeler prices are not coming down. One of the customers who bought, I think, 3 or 4 vehicles, he was like, I like two wheelers and I want to try different two wheelers. And you guys are giving me a great option. Like you have the vehicle quality is good. You're giving me a warranty. We have a 3-day return policy, by the way, right? There's a 3-day return. So what does the 3-day return mean? It means even if I've refurbished the vehicle, the quality of the vehicle is good. The consumer may not experience the quality in the way it is intended,
Yeah.
right? I might give you a fantastic vehicle and you may not like it for
Correct.
subjective reasons. So you can still
Hmm.
give the vehicle back. You
Yeah.
can you
I
can't
think
do
that
that.
would be a game changer. Just
Yeah,
knowing that in itself would
exactly.
tip the balance for a high
Yeah,
intent purchaser.
absolutely. It's a fallback, right? If
Yeah.
I'm basically telling you, you can buy a vehicle from me and give it back in 3 days if you don't like it.
Hmm.
You will not get that in the unorganized market. You buy the
Yeah.
vehicle in an unorganized next day, I don't know who you are,
Yeah. Makes sense.
right? So
Got it.
you're really making a big dent in ensuring that trust is there, transparency is there, which is why we are seeing customers. So one of the things that really warms my heart, and the entire team does this quite a lot. We sit out of our hubs, we speak to customers, and we see a very, very strong word of mouth connection, right? We are seeing someone who has referred the seventh, eighth, ninth person. Like there's a chain, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
there's a chain, there's a strong, solid chain because somebody's bought it, they had a great experience. There's a strong chain that is happening.
Yeah.
Um, and while that is engagement of the highest order, and that's not
Yeah.
something we influence, uh, it is influence of the quality of the offering that we have.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
this is a category where referrals and these advocates
yeah,
drive a lot more than
yeah,
any other form of marketing can do, because a lived experience is the highest order. Right?
yeah,
Like no other
absolutely.
recorded testimonial or any like
Yeah.
promotional material
Um,
beats that.
I wish I had this picture, but I don't have it on me right now.
You can send it
Um,
to us later. I'd love to see.
I remember seeing this on our internal spaces. There was a postcard.
So,
Somebody had written in Chennai. So somebody had sent a postcard to the
team.
Chennai
See.
sales team office, asking for a particular type of vehicle. So they basically said that I found your website and I saw all of it. I really liked it, but can you please help me find this vehicle of this quality and this price?
Got it.
This is very clearly an offline consumer who's not even walked in. He's not even, I think, based in Chennai, based out of Chennai. But we got a postcard.
And yet that
Uh,
kind of conviction that you can do it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because you're solving, and I think and that's what gives us the conviction, right? These consumer stories of, people who found a job in Bangalore and needed a two wheeler. Like I have to join in a week and I need a two wheeler. It's not easy to buy from the unorganized market.
Yeah.
While you have these streets and locations where there are like 30 shops, but it is a buyer beware market, right? You have to visit every shop. They will not give you a test ride unless you're serious,
Yeah.
unless you're willing to show the money. They're not going to give you a test ride, or they'll real spam you into trying a vehicle you don't want. It's quite
Uh,
difficult.
It
Whereas
is.
here,
It is.
it's the best solution you could get. At the cost of sounding like I'm selling BeepKart, but this is generally the stories that we've heard from people who've interacted with us, and also from people who've not bought from us when maybe there's an inventory issue or a pricing issue. A lot of people don't get loans because of poor credit history, and which we are trying to solve through multiple players. But because of credit history, some of them don't get loans, and they really need the vehicle.
Yeah.
But they also keep following up, saying, can we do something else? So yeah.
Yeah. I think definitely not salesy at your end. I think you clearly speak the passion about the work you're doing, and I think that's really amazing. I had not thought of the whole reseller market as a solving for independence and mobility. For me, it was like a two-wheeler vehicle.
Yeah.
But the way you put it, I think it really contextualizes the situation and hence the market as well.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. In the B2B side, I understood what you meant about the purchase side, but you gave the example of an urban company employee. Are those some kind of partnerships that you are keen on, have ever explored, where you tie up with urban company or some of these gig hubs and offer via BeepKart? Like, has that kind of partnership ever been a consideration?
So, of course, it is part of the consideration, and we have explored some of these things in the past. But usually, what happens is one of three things. One, they already have tie-ups or their own fleets, right?
Yes.
Electric fleets, very low-cost vehicles bought in bulk, etc. Second, the gig workers usually have already bought a vehicle, etc. Could be a new vehicle. A lot of gig workers actually buy new vehicles so that they don't have to go through the hassle of repairing, stopping, etc. Because again, a vehicle stops in the middle of the road. He's lost 2 days
Business.
kamai, right?
Makes
And the
sense.
third is usually the cost at which these consumers want vehicles is not something that we can offer, because see, we also incur a cost for refurbishment,
Yes.
right? I'm not buying a vehicle and selling it directly. I'm refurbishing the vehicle. So I'm using original parts, I'm doing inspections, and that incurs a cost, which makes it's hard for me to sell. I don't think we have ever sold a 25-30,000 rupee vehicle at all, right? So there
Got
is
it.
a quality standard, and while the prices are competitive, they do offer, they do charge for the services, etc., that we incur.
Got
So
it.
it's a little
Makes sense.
hard to service that demand.
Okay. No, makes sense. I think it's just less aware at my end, but makes a lot of business sense for sure.
That's a wrap on this episode of the State of Retention Marketing podcast. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share it with your fellow marketeers, founders, or anyone who loves a good growth story. Because great insights deserve great company. Got questions or feedback? We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on LinkedIn and Instagram. We've got brilliant guests and sharp conversations coming up. So stay tuned and we'll catch you in yet another episode of this podcast.